Welcome back, everyone, to episode 6 of the Heavy Hockey Podcast. I'm your host tonight, Patrick, the Oilers fanatic, joined by Bob, the goalie, Ryan Lotsberg, and Kevin McCurdy. Gentlemen, it was a eventful week here in Oil Country. We got lots to talk about. Bob, the goalie, we got a big goalie trade here, so I definitely got to get your input on this one first. I think with the being the resident goalie here at Heavy Hockey, Stuart Skinner, Brett Kulak sent to the Pittsburgh Penguins for Tristan Jarry. The full trade officially, the Oilers acquiring goaltender Tristan Jarry and forward Samuel Poulin from the Penguins in exchange for Stuart Skinner, Brett Kulak, and a second-round draft selection in 2029. We know to this point, Stuart Skinner has played one single game, and it has been against us here, the Edmonton Oilers. Tristan Jarry currently 2-0. Bob, your thoughts on the trade, and what do you think of Stuart Skinner as a Pittsburgh Penguin so far and Tristan Jarry as an Edmonton Oiler?
Well, when it comes to them on their new teams, it's a pretty small sample size, but big picture on the trade. Well, on paper, I don't like the trade, but I understand the trade. The addition. Let's face it. The key pieces here are Skinner and Jarry. I mean, Kulak is a pretty substantial piece, though. Don't get me wrong, but the main focus here was on the two goaltenders. I think Jarry is definitely having the better season. No question about it. All the analytics, even just watching, the highlights and what have you. I mean, it's obvious he's having a better season. I personally think that Stu Skinner is still the better overall goalie than Tristan Jarry, but that can change and that can change this season, even depending on how it goes. It was only just a few years ago where I felt Tristan Jarry was a top 10 goalie in the NHL. Now, getting to the top 10, that's kind of fluctuating. Once you get past the first four guys, your other six guys in top 10, they kind of come in and out of the lineup a little bit on that list. But Jarry was definitely up there for a good portion of that season. And obviously, as we all know, had some struggles after that. So sustaining a top 10 quality is tough to do. But he's been there and not that long ago. And so I think the biggest key for both these guys, I think they just need to change of scenery. Skinner's time, he's at the point now here where he could do no right. Like we could have a shutout and it would be because how well the team played defensively. Or whenever we could lose 2-1, it was because of our goaltending. So it was just at the point where it was lose-lose for Skinner. I think he served us well. 2 Stanley Cup finals. Yes, he got pulled in playoffs from time to time, but he carried most of the load for us. I think for me, he's leaving a good taste in my mouth for the time he was here. I'm not one of those people who thinks he ever cost us a cup. I think Jarry is going to be motivated here. He wants to get back to the form he had before. He's on a brand new team in a city that he loves. I mean, he bought a house here while he was still in junior, I believe. He spent his summers here, if I'm not mistaken. So he loves this area. So I have full confidence in Tristan Jarry as an Edmonton Oiler. I think he has the capability to surpass Stu Skinner for sure. And I wish Skinner nothing but the best, 100%. It was rough to kind of see. He had a bit of a rough game against us. And of course, I stayed off Twitter because I knew there was going to be a blow up. But what an obvious one-sided trade this was. I don't think it was that one-sided. And the key reason because of Brett Kulak and also that second-round draft pick. That's actually a pretty key element of that trade as well. We knew, though, if we were going to trade for a goalie, Bowman was probably going to get fleeced a little bit because everybody in the NHL world knew that we were looking at goaltending. So considering the price, we did pay a little steep, but it could have been a lot worse. Let the Tristan Jarry chapter begin.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Tristan Jarry is being brought in here to be that one win better than Stuart Skinner was. We'll see if it happens here. It's 2-0. It's a good start. Obviously, as you mentioned, Stuart Skinner struggling last night, but to start as your very first game against your former team, like that so rarely happens. And on such an emotional night, and some big things happened in that game last night that we're going to get to, of course. But let's go around the clock here. And Kevin McCurdy, you're next on the clock here. Your thoughts on the trade there?
I think it was a necessary step for both parties. I think it was time for a change of scenery for Stu Skinner. I wouldn't be surprised if he was asking one since the summer. The pressure here last year was significant. Some of the things that were um, suggested to members of his family by members of the public were unacceptable. And frankly, I'm not at all surprised to hear a young goaltender decide that his home is no longer where he wants to raise his family, kind of in a matter of ways. Now, and don't get me wrong, I don't know that for certain, but we have a pretty good idea that he wasn't particularly happy about some of the threats that his family received, and it wouldn't at all shock me to know that that sort of was the predicator for the decision to be, you know, to talk to the team about moving. I suspect there was that conversation, whether it was a formal trade request or not. I don't think we'll ever know, but it does seem to me like that was the thing that was mutually agreeable from both sides. Um, I am concerned about Tristan Jarry's injury history more than I am his play. I think that his play will meet his contract, uh, even though it's kind of a bit of an uplift in price without much headache as long as he's healthy. Um, Having him in the first game and him tweak something in the first game is not a particularly great start to that. It was obvious when he went off over to head athletic therapist TD4s, and it was clear they were discussing something that wasn't quite right. So that's where I worry about with Jari is that he won't be as durable as Stuart Skinner was. We can talk a lot of shit about Stuart Skinner, but one thing's for sure, he basically missed no injury time in his time as an Oiler. If he did, it was a very short amount of time. Uh,
Mhm.
in one case, he had a concussion, right? Like, and that was from somebody running into him. It wasn't from a goalie related play like most often goalie injuries are. So, I have conflicted emotions about it. Again, I do think that it was time for a change of scenery for potentially both gentlemen, and it's, pretty unfortunate that Brett Kulak was the sacrificial lamb in the process, but, the one final comment, I guess, is that, at the end of the day, those guys are, the left side of this organization is really plugged up. We got 3 defensemen that are all making, over $6 million for now, on the left side of the org. Granted, Wallman is hurt, and not a lot of spot for Brett Kulak to play on his natural side come next season. Arguably, we didn't have space for him to play on his natural side this season. So I think that highlights an area of need on the right side of the depth chart, and I think moving on from Brett was sort of inevitable once Wallman was signed.
Absolutely. Lots of your thoughts on the trade?
So I was never really against making a move here. Like I advocated for patience here because I felt that the team was just playing so poorly in front of Stu and Calvin for that matter. And I thought Skinner had actually been making some strides this season. Like look at his underlying numbers; they're all better than last season. And the new goalie coaching looked like it was helping a little bit, but making the move, it sounds like it was a necessary thing based on some stuff that has come out since then. Like to Kevin's point, I believe it was Tom Gazzola suggested that both sides were open to a move of some kind. And Pierre LeBrun saying that the Oilers were interested in Jarry going back to the summer, so shortly after the Stanley Cup Finals. And that tells me that's when the decision was made. But Bowman needed to see that last season was an outlier for Jarry. They needed to see how this season started, which I applaud the caution, right? It would have been one thing to make that panic move immediately after the Stanley Cup final on a guy that had been on waivers and played in the AHL the year before. But we at least have a bit of sample size of Jarry's game recovering. So while I still feel it was a bit of a panic move based on how the season had started so far for the Oilers and for Skinner and as a whole here, it it was a bit of a panic move. And I was looking at the price point, right? I was always concerned about the price point. And it turns out that price point was Skinner, Kulak, and a second round pick. And so Skinner was probably always going to have to be involved to make the money work for a goaltender that was better than backup quality or a diamond in the rough with some magic beans and pixie dust, you know? But I mean, Kulak, Kevin's got a good point there. The left side is kind of tight, and I think his future was set in stone when Wallman and Ekholm both extended. I mean, he's going to be 32 by the time his contract expires, and this team needs to get younger. And it was always a luxury to have Kulak and his 2.75 million on the third pair. It really was. And so if you're going to make a move to improve other areas of the roster, like I felt Kulak was that guy for a couple of years now. Like I felt he was in the way of Broberg, and I thought I was open to moving Kulak at that point when we were trying to keep him. I've been open to moving Kulak for a couple of years now, but there's no arguing that he was unbelievable for us in the playoffs and was a big contributor to those 2 cup runs or near cup runs for us. And at the second round pick, it's in 2029. But if you follow me or listen to me at all, you know I'm very future focused, even in a win now championship window. Because eventually 2029 is going to come along. You're going to want them to go all in the middle of Draisaitl's contract. And who knows what's going to happen with McDavid at around that time. But if guys are taking 3 and 4 years to develop, you got to start thinking about life beyond McDavid and Draisaitl. And that starts at around the 2029 draft. And we just gave up a second rounder to address goaltending in season in a bit of a panic move. Right. So that's where my mind kind of goes to there. So I think it's a lateral move between Skinner and Jarry. I think Jarry's got a different set of issues than what Skinner's got. Kevin pointed out the injuries. Jarry clearly moves better laterally than Skinner does, but the first couple of games I've noticed some rebound control issues. A couple pucks that went right back out into the slot and ended up behind Jarry. And so we'll see how it all balances out. Jarry's got better high danger save percentage and better inner slot shot save percentage than Skinner, but Skinner is better at the easy saves than Jarry, which sounds funny to say because we've seen some softies go by Stu. So yeah, like, I'm not upset about this. I'm just kind of frustrated. It had to be a panic move, and we feel bad for Skinner and Kulak for the way it got handled and the way it played out.
I feel bad for Skinner also having to watch Draisaitl score 1,000 4 feet from his crease too, right? Like,
Yep.
we saw some of the video from before the game and after the game, and just like some little interactions that got caught on camera, and it's kind of a tragic end to an otherwise like uh a clearly a tight knit group, right? And I think lots of people make jokes about McDavid and Draisaitl and Skinner and being free of those handcuffs in a manner of speaking, but I don't think that's how they look at it at all. And it's pretty clear that based on how they interact with Stu, um, there was a lot of love and respect there. So and kind of, it's sad that that's how it had to play out. And in the same way, it's like watching Gretzky get 1851 in Edmonton playing for LA, right? So um, just one of those weird coinky dinks of hockey, I guess.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like I said, that had to be Stuart Skinner's first game, at least for Tristan Jarry. He was able to get a game in before he played Pittsburgh. It wasn't exactly the same situation, but at least you get that reprieve. So it was immigration issues that slowed Skinner and Kulak joining the Pittsburgh Penguins earlier. So going back to the trade, there was another trade that same day. The Edmonton Oilers acquiring Spencer Stastny from the Nashville Predators. He is seen as the Brett Kulak replacement here that we've been talking about. So he's played a couple of games. I thought he's looked pretty decent so far. He's a younger player, obviously 25, I believe he is.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong there, guys, but
You got it.
yeah. So a player for the future, like you're talking about there, Lotzi. We'll start with you, Lotzi. What are your thoughts so far on Spencer Stastny?
Yeah, and that little move was the other cost to doing this move as well. You trade out Kulak and you got to replace him, right? So then you spend the 2027 third to go out and get Stastny. Now, having said that, I am happy that they spent that pick on a 25-year-old that looks like he's got himself a future. He was at, but before the trade, he was at 50% goal share 5-on-5 with the Predators, who have been terrible to start the season. And I believe it was 50, around 53.5, 53.6 expected goals for a 5-on-5, again, on a bad Nashville team. And this is so Stastny is kind of having like his breaking out party, so to speak. This is his first full NHL season. He's established himself as a full-time NHLer this year, and I think it's a good pickup by Bowman. Like, he's mobile and moves the puck really well. But skating's a strength, as much like Kulak's was. So I see the comparison to Kulak there. But I think they're slightly different styles. Like, I think Stastny's a little more offensive-minded, whereas Kulak was a little more reliable, stay at home. You're happy when you get a point from him, but you're not expecting it, kind of deal. So I actually quite like the move for Stastny.
What do you think, Kevin?
I think that that's a solid move, and I think so far from what I've seen from him, I've liked his heads up play. In some ways, he reminds me of Kulak. He's a good skater. He follows the play well. There was a play last night where there was an obvious breakaway forming that he recognized the danger of, and then he was able to start his retreat in time to make that breakaway effectively a non-issue. And that's the kind of like heads up defense that are going to win you friends around the team, right? So I think that there's a lot of upside to that player. I have no issues with getting younger. I think that the cost of it was minimal. I've seen a lot of people. I just want to go back to the second round draft pick for a second. I've seen quite a few comments on Twitter and even in the comments tonight in the stream. Talking about a second in 2029 is a nothing burger, and my issue with that is the same attitude that has left us with empty cupboards in 2025-26, right? Those are the same types of attitudes, like, just throw Michael Kesselring in as a sweetener for, and it's not Michael Kesselring. I get that. It's not the same player. It's not the same situation, but assets are assets, and we have a limited number of them. So to get away with, spending a second for a future draft, it sure might seem like a nothing burger, but maybe we won't be saying that in 2029. We don't know who will be in the draft. We won't know what our own asset situation will be like at that point. My bet is we will have wished that we would have had that pick come 2029. So everything comes with a cost. It might seem kind of minimal up front, but you're just kicking the can down the road a little bit.
And you know why it had to be a 2029 second. Like, we don't have any high-end picks in the next couple of years, right? Like, we're already spending from 2029.
We're in good
now.
shape. We're in good shape. Like, the one thing that I will give Stan Bowman is that he has been far more disciplined about spending draft capital than his predecessor was. Like, here, let me just pull this open right quick. But if I'm not mistaken, of course we're gonna not know where the buttons are today, Kevin. If I'm not mistaken, we are in. Oh my goodness. Buttons. There we go. You're right about the second, or sorry. In next year, we have a second, a third, a sixth, and a seventh. In 2027, we have a first, a second, 2/5, a sixth, and a second. And in 2028, we have all the draft picks plus an extra third.
Yeah, so 2027, we moved a fourth and turned it into a fifth. Mm-hmm. And so we're already kind of spending from the 27 draft. 28 was untouched, but now we're going into 29 already, right? Mm-hmm. And because look at the state of the 26 draft. We've got like half our picks.
Yep. But we also have been pretty good at signing players that I would be relatively equivalent to first rounders or close to it. Like, I think there's not much doubt that Savoy is going to be an NHL player and probably an NHL player for a fairly long and healthy career, judging from what I've seen of him thus
Yep.
far. So, and I think that there's other gets. I think Quinn Hudson might be a get. From what we've seen of him, I think his skill set will translate well. So, I get the point, and I guess my point is, I'm cognizant that there is a cost to spending draft picks, and they have spent a lot of them, and they're paying for it now. So to be wanton about a draft pick 2 years from now means that we haven't learned the lessons of today, and that's the only sort of issue I take with it.
I fully agree with that, and I think Bowman understood the assignment, and he's done a decent job of recouping some of the draft picks. Like Holland, the ones that Holland didn't trade away and actually used haven't developed into anything, right? The ones that did, Holloway and Broberg, well, we know what happened there. So there's the development was mishandled, and they both ended up opting to sign with St. Louis. So now that leaves us in a position where we're having to scour the ends of the earth to get guys like Atra Leppinen and David Tomashek. And I mean, Hudson's played real well so far in the AHL, and I like that. There's other signings and other trades that he's made, Savoy, Howard, that have kind of addressed that issue. But again, learn the lesson. Don't put your team in that situation again.
Yeah, and they've been stingier. I'll give them that they've been stingier under Bowman. Like Holland spent draft capital like it was water, and it shows.
Yeah, I mean,
and
it's been 1
how
year
many
of Bowman.
Yeah, and how many like we got one draft pick left of Tyler Wright and Ken Holland's draft selections?
Two, I believe, but yeah.
Is there two?
Akey and Petrov.
Out of 35 picks possible, they have two people that are left in the organization that were from the Holland era. That's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's not a good look.
No, it isn't. And I mean, Bowman's been around for a year. I like the Wallman trade at the deadline last year. Didn't like the Frederick trade. I always thought second was an overpay for him, and then doubled down on it with a expensive 8-year contract after what we saw from him in the playoffs was poor management in my opinion. So like that one seems a little wasteful to me. But yes, generally speaking, Bowman hasn't gone crazy like Holland did.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing too was having to use draft capital to get out of contracts like Zach Cassian's contract. At least in this situation, you're using a draft pick to address your goaltending. They were giving up draft picks just to get rid of a contract before. So that was just one way that Ken Holland was wasting them. So, like to your point, Kevin, yeah, I think they've been much better at using them properly or to actually help the team here rather than just trying to fix mistakes. So we'll see what happens there. Bob, do you have anything to add there on the Brett Kulak, Spencer Stastny swap there?
Well, again, like before, a little bit on the goaltending there again, it was that draft pick is one of the reasons. Like Pittsburgh acquired a starter / 1B goalie. They, a steady middle bottom pair defenseman and a second round draft pick, and we got a starting goalie and a minor league player right in that one. So you knew, like I mentioned earlier, you knew when the Oilers are going to make a trade for a goalie to address the goaltending need, we're going to get fleeced a little bit, and we got fleeced a little bit. But it was also something that had to be addressed, and it could have been worse. Stastny, I really love the pickup of Stastny, and I did since I heard his name, because the handful of games that I watched Nashville play, he actually, it's kind of weird because he actually did remind me a lot of Brett Kulak just watching him play on Nashville. And I think that also says something about what Brett Kulak brought to the table, that we find a guy who's quite similar to him and see the asset that he was. And now we're getting, a kind of a different version of him, but yet similar in a lot of ways. I think like Lotzi touched on, he's going to have a bit of more of an offensive upside, so he kind of finds his confidence a bit more than what Kulak had. But yeah, great skater. Seems to have a good head for the game. The first two games, I thought he played like really, really safe. Was afraid to make a mistake. This last game, I was actually really impressed with his last game. He seemed to be jumping up at the right time, recognized plays, developing. had good foot speed to cover, gaps and what have you. So yeah, great. That's a great move by Bowman there for a third rounder. That's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Yep.
Yeah. I may be talking out of turn here too, but I'm kind of excited for him coming from Nashville because the Predators do have a strong history of drafting and developing really good defensemen. So to get someone from that program, I'm sure they've changed out scouts, and I'm not even sure they're drafting right now, but I just know over the course of the years here, we've seen a lot of good defensemen come out of the Nashville system. So I think that could be another really good positive for the team here. So
Well, the last defenseman we got out of Nashville worked pretty good for us.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that other dude.
Yeah.
Well, the other good thing about Stastny is that he played with Emberson on the U.S. national development team.
Yeah.
They're on a pairing together, not just playing with each other, but like with each other. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a nice little added bonus.
And a special shout out to Emberson. I thought he was actually probably our best D-man last game. That's probably the best game I've seen him play in probably about a year.
Emberson and Stastny are really making a case to be our second pairing, I've got to say. That's a controversial take for you, but that's, I'm...
Call you crazy, McCurdy?
Yeah, well... talking about two guys making less than $2 million between them being a second pairing makes a guy crazy, but Alec Regula really struggled last night. He kept getting roasted, and I say this as a guy who really likes what Regula brings to the team in general. He is a very strong, offensively minded, and puck movement minded player, but his foot speed exposes him, and that's going to continue to be a problem for him, and especially playing with Darnell Nurse, who shows sometimes similar mistakes in a much more expensive package. So I think, I think Regula is going to end up being a keeper. I just don't know how, like, at a certain point, like, I don't know how the team continues with this Darnell Nurse experiment. I don't know. I don't hate the guy. I even don't hate his hockey a lot of the time, but there's some stuff that he does in his game that drives me mental, and I'm sure drives a lot of people mental in the organization.
I think if he was making $4 million a year, we'd tolerate it more than on a $9 million contract. There's certain expectations that come with that contract, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like we talked about with the Skinner Jarry trade, it was just time and a fresh perspective, fresh change for both guys. I think we're probably reaching that point where it's just time. If obviously Darnell Nurse can veto anything that he doesn't want to do, but I could see probably not in season, but maybe this summer that might be something that does finally come to fruition, depending on how the season goes. But we'll see what happens there. Before we leave the topic of goaltenders, because I know we all want to talk about Mr. 1000 from last night, I did want to address one more thing. There's rumors going around about the Oilers going after a second goaltender here. Some of the options that have been talked about are Alex Lyon with the Buffalo Sabres, bringing up Connor Ingram from Bakersfield. What are you guys thinking as the best possible option here? We know Laurent Brossoit was just on waivers yesterday, so there is the possibility of a retention deal there. Ryan, why don't we start with you? What do you think is the best option there? Sticking with Calvin Pickard or going with one of the guys that are out there rumored to be coming in?
Yeah, so I'm kind of conflicted because I look at what's going on in Buffalo and I see the GM change. I see a GM that's been watching that team for a while and doesn't necessarily need to go through an evaluation period before making a decision or making some moves. And he pointed out that he doesn't want to run three goaltenders during his press conference. So, which guy do you move? UPL's unhappy, but the Oilers can't really afford to bring that in right now unless there's some retention involved. So that's going to get pricey. That'd be awesome, but I don't see it happening. Lyon, 32-year-old career backup for the most part, a damn good one, but still, that's not the direction I really want to go. It might be the best for the here and now, but again, I want to get a guy that has a chance to grow into something special in the next few years here. And I've brought up Arvid Soderblom a few times before. That's a guy that I'd be interested in as well. The numbers in Chicago are not great this year, but he's played in front of or behind a defense that's been similarly as bad as what Calvin Pickard has had to endure. And Peter Aubrey, the new goaltending coach, has spoken highly of Soderblom in public before. So there's a relationship there that could be nurtured over time. So that if I'm getting a guy from Chicago, I'd go Soderblom over LB for sure.
You're telling me that we should maybe give our goalie coach a goalie that he's familiar with? What is this blasphemy, man? Like,
right? I know I talk crazy. I mean, LB's numbers over the past few years have looked a lot better than what we've seen from Soderblom so far, but LB hasn't played in a full NHL year and a little bit now, coming off a serious hip injury. The second time, like he's had both hips done, if I recall correctly from the piece I read about it. So I'm not, I mean, how hilarious would it be if we got both former Oil Kings goaltenders from their Mem Cup era when they were really good here? That'd just be hilarious.
on the way, on the way to collecting them all at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. And we've had LB before, right? Like,
yep.
Why didn't we just keep him?
Well, we got Lazar. Like, wow, that late 2018, 2019 period of goalies is one of the most arguably stupid periods of Oilers managing goaltending. Between the complete, like, I'm not saying Laurent Brossoit is the best goalie in the universe, but we lost both LB and Anthony Stolars in a 2-year period to not playing them enough games. And not like, it was stupid in the case of one of them. It was like one game more they needed to play them, and instead they chased a nothing burger of a playoff berth, if I remember correctly, by running their primary goalie into the ground, and lost basically both of them to Group 6 UFA. And that's just kind of like, that's dumb asset management. I want to talk about asset management decisions that'll make you pull your hair out. Losing goalies to Group 6 because you don't play them 1 or 2 games more than you have. That's wild stuff. And both of those guys have turned out to be goalies despite some health issues.
Yeah, and that Stolars was the throw-in in the Cam Talbot deal just to make that work from the organizational standpoint for the Flyers. And yeah, you're right. 1 game more, and he would have avoided that. But he hadn't really broken out yet, and it's hard to predict that he's going to break out. I mean, not that I'm defending a lot of what happened that season, because that was the year Chiarelli got fired, and he signed Koskinen to the 4-year deal 2 days before he got fired, or whatever it was. Right? Like how that happened, I'll never understand. But yeah, you're right.
We're still in year 10 to McDavid, and we're still year 11, and we're trying to find goaltending solutions and defense solutions. So, like, I don't know what to tell you.
I think a guy like Stolars was lightning in a bottle for Toronto last year. I mean, he had a great year last year, but he's been a career backup his entire career, and now this year he's injury problems, but also like he hasn't played good this year. Last year might have been a one-off. So when we're looking at guys that got away, I don't really consider him as one that got away in that regard, because I don't know how much more reprieve he gets us. Like Kevin mentioned before about Jarry's injury history, that is a concern when it comes to, we're talking about a second goalie. Like, do we have the faith in Pickard to be to take the reins if Jarry goes down, especially with the season that Pickard's having? If this was last season, I'd have a bit more confidence, because I thought Pickard was one of the best backups in the NHL last season. This season has not been the case. So if Jarry goes down, then lots of we might end up having to make another panic move for a goalie. Right now, we do have a little bit of time to scope to see what happens. But again, trading for a goalie, we're going to get fleeced, right? That's all there is to it. So
I heard Pittsburgh's got a guy that might be available.
Yeah, well, if he has history with our goalie coach, that may work. So
very brief, but
And still take Blomqvist off their hands. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, I know. Or even that Mirashov kind of thing. Those are some good young goalies there to develop. But I know they're trying to find that balance of young. Ideally, you want to try to find a balance of young but NHL ready. That's why I do. I don't mind your suggestion of Soderblom at all, Lottie, because he kind of fits that mold a bit. But yeah, it remains to be seen. It's interesting to watch. And me being a goalie guy, I salivate every time names come up. I'm not a Brassois booster. I'd like to stay away from him. I mean, I've actually even when he was backing up Edmonton, backing up Winnipeg, and whatever, I've never seen much greatness from him until the series against us when he was in Vegas. He played really well until he got hurt. But that's the best I've ever seen him. I've never seen him be able to sustain that at all. So I'm not sure if he's much of an upgrade on Pickard at all. Of the names you mentioned, Brassois is one thing, is a guy that brings up red flags to me.
Sebastian Cossa.
Oh, well.
Who they
so now we're
should
talking about a guy who is just like a blue chip prospect with no NHL experience again, which, again, I salivate at his name, but it doesn't fit the mold of a guy is he NHL ready and young enough?
Only one way to find out.
We're looking to pull a Ken Dryden out of our hat. I think, throw him in there.
See, the difference is that I think Cossa is an NHL goalie, and what I've seen of Levi is there's some people that are big fans of Levi, is that he can't track NHL releases as well as Cossa can. Like, I think Levi is a hot shot, and there may be a chance that he swings available, and the Oilers should swing on that if they can get it for not too much money, but or too much in the way of assets. But I have concerns about Levi and his future at the NHL level. I am not a goalie analyst, like straight up. That is not my bread and butter. My bread and butter is particularly defensemen, but obviously the skater side of the puck rather than the goaltending side of the puck. But from what I have seen of Levi and what I've seen of Cossa, I know which one of those two I would pick.
We do need to remove Connor Ingram's name from the conversation. He is, has had flashes in Bakersfield, but he is struggling to find his game. I think he'll still get there, but I honestly don't think if Ingram does get a call up, we're not going to see him till past the 55, 60 game mark for in the NHL for a look-see. But we should not be looking at him as our savior or as our insurance in case somebody goes down. Like, he is. This was a deal that was friendly to him. This wasn't as much a team deal as it was a Connor Ingram deal. For him to go somewhere, find his game, find his balance, get some stability, and concentrate on being a goalie, and then see what happens.
Testament to Bakersfield, he had a 6.6 goals against average and 741 in the last game, and they still won it. So
there you go.
When we talk about the Oilers of old.
Well, I wouldn't completely discount it because there was that report, I think it was on Oilers Nation, that following their road trip a bit, there was potentially going to be a Calvin Pickard, Connor Ingram swap, but I guess the team vetoed it or something like that. Or
I don't, based on what I'm seeing here, and I haven't watched Bakersfield as much as I should be watching Bakersfield, but I don't see a goalie that's ready for the NHL in these stats at the moment.
Oh, no, I'm not saying he should be, but I'm just saying, like, I think they were considering making that swap. But
yeah, and
whether
that's
or not he's ready or not is another question. But
I think they might have done that to try and avoid the Stuart Skinner move, to be honest with you, is what I think they were trying to avoid, spending assets on the problem, which, is understandable. And again, it shows that's true. It shows a respect for their asset pool being, somewhat limited. But die is cast now, and it seems like, for whatever reason, Calvin Pickard's still able to get some tunes out of that trombone when he plays, even if he does let in a couple of stinker goals. And there's something to be said for that team connection element for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty hopeful that Calvin Pickard is a guy that they keep around the organization after his career is over. It's the same with like Derek Ryan. I would really like to see Derek Ryan come back in a couple of years and be part of the scouting or coaching or player development staff, because I think his attitude is a little bit infectious. And you got to surround the team with those, high energy types too, right? And Zach Hyman as well. I mean, obviously he's nowhere near the end of his career, but that's another guy that earns a spot in work ethic alone.
Mm-hmm. Rob Piercy brings up here. How about Cam Talbot? I've heard reports. I can't remember where I actually heard them from now, but that Cam doesn't actually want to come back to Edmonton. So
that would not surprise me in the least, based on how his exit was from this organization. He was thoroughly burned up by old Flat Top prior to the end of his time here with, and for those that don't know who I'm referring to, it's Todd McClellan is nicknamed through the Twitterverse and a few other places as Flat Top. Shout out to Dennis King, I think, actually, but yeah, he was used to the point of exhaustion by the Oilers, and I wouldn't not be surprised to find out that he doesn't look at returning to Edmonton or its media market as a particularly favorable experience for the final year or two of his career.
Yeah. I think we're all in agreement. If there's somebody out of Detroit, it's Sebastian Cossa we want. Like Bob Stauffer has brought up his name a ton, especially this past summer.
They're trying to get younger in the goaltending. Like the goalies that I'm hearing that they're targeting are all, in that same kind of like ready to break out in the end. And that is I gotta say, and pause on that for a second. That is a wonderful shift of philosophy to hear, if they can make any of it come true. We love our older, close to wash dudes and have for years, and to see them be progressive and potentially targeting the next generation of goaltending gives me some hope. Because as much as I like Cam Talbot, or as much as I like, guys like Jonathan Quick and whatever, like the end is near, and yeah, you might get a good season or two out of them. Of debatable quality, but I think you need to find somebody who's going to be in the org for 5 to 10 years.
And
however long we take to chew them up in our media environment, right? Like,
and we've missed that. Like you've pointed out before a couple times, Kev, that we've had opportunities to get our claws on some of these guys when they were available. We could have, we could have picked up guys like DiPietro. We could have made a move for like Askarov or Busey even at one point. Like, so that, in hindsight, we had the blinders on there. But the fact that maybe seeing these misses turn into some hits, there's like, well, maybe this is something we should look at. And now they're starting to, focus on some guys similar to that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's a younger guy. I mean, we've heard Alex Lyon's name, Devin Levi, Buffalo as well. Sebastian Cossa's name's out there. Cossa will probably be the hardest one to get, I would think, because Detroit's probably, I think they're trying to find a way to get him into their tandem right now. They got that.
But if he wants out, then that ships out. Like it's the Broberg situation, right? Like once those guys ask to be out, and that's the rumor, right? I don't know. I'm not well connected to know how certain that is, but I've heard it in multiple places that he's asked for a change of scenery. So I think that when that happens, there's a lot more likelihood that they'll make a favorable deal.
Mm-hmm.
It just probably won't be during the season. I can't see them doing that to the season. Like the Yzer plan includes shoring up Edmonton's goaltending. That would be some wild Yzer planning. That's all I got to say about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you guys think the cost would be to get Cossa out of Detroit? Start with you, Leslie.
If the kid wants out, maybe not as much as we think, but I gotta think. What was Askarov's return, right? Like it was multiple expensive pieces, like multiple high-end pieces of a first-round pick plus. It might be worth it though.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's a goal.
We could have had it,
right?
We could have had it with our own first-round pick in 2021, but I digress.
So the Askarov trade was David Edstrom, Magnus Krona, and a 2025 first.
So first and two good prospects.
Yeah, I don't know what either of those guys has done since, but that doesn't really matter. At the time,
I
they
think
would have.
Hedstrom was part of the Thomas Hurdle deal from Vegas, and he was highly touted at one point, but he's been traded twice now and hasn't really developed into anything. So I think it was him and the first round pick that were the two kind of key components to that trade.
Yeah, he is 20, right? So he's a monster of a kid too. 1.9 meters. That's yeah. Anyway, I think that's probably what you're looking at. And then what are you talking about? Then you're talking about Bo Akey, Isaac Howard, like something like that, plus a first round pick. Like that's not like you better be damn sure there's a goaltender there.
Yeah. Well, that's one where you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? Like you're getting your goaltender, but then you're taking away a potential guy that's for your future top six. So is your top six getting weaker? So your goaltender can get potentially better, right? Like from what we can like, I guess you can say Sebastian Cossa is showing well as well because they're both guys. I'm talking Ike Howard here. Both guys are showing really well in the American Hockey League, but we haven't really seen either guy. Cossa hasn't really got that opportunity yet to break out in the NHL. So if it was something like that, I think we'd be taking more of the risk there.
Well, he's a blue chip prospect, and he has the potential to be a franchise goalie. So yeah, you're bang on. You're gonna lose pieces that are gonna hurt to get somebody like that.
Yeah.
Well, as long as they don't go doing something stupid like sending Ryan Nugent Hopkins somewhere, then or Evan Bouchard. Yeah.
Well, I think we got the goalies covered there. Let's switch topics here to Mr. Leon Draisaitl hitting point number 1,000 last night. As you brought up earlier, Kevin had to do it to the left of Stuart Skinner. Unfortunately, Skinner had to watch on. I'm sure that's the last thing he wanted to see that night, but I think we knew going into that game was pretty much inevitable. And aside from Stuart Skinner standing on his head and shutting out the Oilers, Draisaitl was going to get point number 1,000 last night, and Connor also showing up in a big way. So, your thoughts, guys, on the Leon Draisaitl milestone there? We'll start with you, Bob.
Wow, how exciting was that? I mean, I got goosebumps when I saw the whole benches clear out and jump on. I mean, I was particularly happy for Quinn Hudson because that's the most ice time he saw was during that celebration there. But I remember like Leon when they called him up, like when he first made his appearance with the Oilers back in 14-15 season, is that right? Yeah, I think so, right? And he struggled. He struggled to find his game, and they gave him a good 30 games or so to try and find his game to the point where they're like, you know what, we need you to go back down to find your footing. And there's a certain party that went, oh no, please don't let this be a first round bust, like just because all the tools were there, but he didn't seem to find it. But man, I mean, what a story! Now when he got called back up the next time, like he's never been down again. Like he found his footing, he found his game. He is an NHL premier superstar. He's the Malkin to McDavid's Crosby. Like those two are just peas in a pod, and nobody deserves it more. I mean, really, from like what's the percentage we heard about how much of the German scoring is he part of in the NHL history? Like it's an obscene number. Like he's the greatest German player of all time, and yet he still refuses to acknowledge that others aren't greater than him. When he talks about guys like Peter or whoever else is a German player. So yeah, I loved it. I like I said, I got goosebumps when that happened. What a great moment.
Kevin, your thoughts?
He was Dad's favorite player, to be completely honest with you, or at least active player. We both love how he plays hockey. I am particularly fond of some of his stylistic choices in terms of just how like one with the puck he is, right? Like zone entries, puck defense. Like I don't think there's anybody better in the league, and you could make a case that he's a top 3 player in the league at any given time. And he lives in Connor's shadow, and I don't think that he minds that. And I think he wishes sometimes he could take that spotlight from Connor and just let Connor be Connor. But he is an incredible player, and he's a real joy to watch. Incredibly smart dude on the ice, and has some pretty funny takes off the ice. Definitely, no doubt that uh, he's a pretty witty dude, and his dry sense of humor, so to speak, is rings through the team.
Lotsy, your thoughts?
Yeah, so in case you guys missed it, shortly before we went on air, I put out a piece entitled Draisaitl ist ein Eishockey Legend. That's German for Draisaitl is an ice hockey legend. He is more than just a German legend. He's more than just a legend here in Edmonton. He is an ice hockey legend. Fifth fastest player outside of North America to get to 1,000 points. The 21st player to do it, and he is. Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was one of your dad's last pieces where he was talking about Leon being the 50-goal, 100-point threat, just a total dual threat. Like Ovechkin got 50 goals and 100 points in 4 out of 5 seasons from his rookie year through 2009-10. Leon's the only other guy to do it since then, and he's done it 3 of the last 4 years.
Yeah,
Right?
I don't remember for sure if that was like all of the pieces sort of blur together after a while, but he was a huge fan of Leon Draisaitl. Again, both on and off the ice. And I think that, he's Leon's just a special player. He's a joy to watch play hockey, and it's just cool to see him always take the youngins and turn them into something, right? Like watching what he's done with Pods and Savoy is exceptional stuff. He's not playing with superstars. He's taking 2 kids with pedigree and turning them into more than they ever were before this. And it's hard not to root for the guy, and he's done it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, like Puck Colson's on a 20-goal pace right now. It's
That's crazy. You would tell that to Vancouver. I'm sure they're air punching under the table right now.
He finally looks like a first-round draft pick.
Well, he is an incredibly smart player just by himself, and I think the change of senior. I don't think he ever would have been this in Vancouver.
I agree,
and I don't think it's that Leon's making that. I think his work ethic is making that for him. But that's what it takes. You put guys with work ethic with Leon Draisaitl, and he'll turn them into something, right? That's the mark of a true leader, and I respect the hell out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to your point about living in Connor's shadow, I remember old Flat Top there right in Leon's first or second season saying that, telling Leon, don't be scared to be the best player on the ice because you can be that on a lot of nights. And he has been that on many, many nights for the Oilers. So, yeah, and in my piece, I made sure not to mention McDavid's name at all because Leon deserves his own spotlight.
Yeah, I think that's always been the biggest thing is Leon doesn't kind of get the credit he deserves. It's always been McDavid's shadow, and just doing this and hitting 1,000 points not too long after Connor did it, and with not anywhere near the fanfare that Connor gets, has just been incredible. And as you pointed out, Kevin, just like the guys he brings up with him, like Pod Colson has been fantastic, and he's turning into a real player here. We're starting to see that scoring for him this year, and that's a lot of credit to Leon Draisaitl there and believing in a guy like that and giving him the confidence to turn into that player. And that's clearly confidence he wasn't getting with the Vancouver Canucks. So right from top to bottom, he's a true leader, and we're extremely fortunate to have him here, having Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Just an absolute double blessing. And yeah, Draisaitl has been absolutely amazing. So well
Isn't
done.
that weird that a guy who scores multiple seasons of 50 goals, is a Hart Trophy winner, and Yeah, still plays in the shadow of somebody for most nights, right? Doesn't
Yeah,
get the proper due respect.
It shows you how like revered Connor McDavid is, and don't get me wrong, McDavid
And
is
rightly
worthy
so.
of it. I've been hard on Connor actually the past 18 months or so, right? Like he for a while hasn't looked like, but I have not seen Connor McDavid do Connor McDavid things like he's doing right now in 2 seasons. And the way he's playing now, he's untouchable. Like he's back to not to completely distract from the point at hand, but he's back to single-handedly dangling entire teams again and, scoring on his former goaltender in the process, right? Like there's something special when he's on his game, and I'm really happy to see that he's finally found that groove again. Um, I don't know, like, what it was. I don't know if it was an injury. I don't know if it was a mental thing, whatever. It's not like he wasn't producing. He just there's 2 tiers of McDavid. There's human McDavid, and then there's inhuman McDavid, and we're seeing the latter right now, and we've seen it now for multiple games. So I think it's safe to say, he's at what 20 points in the last 7 games. Look out, league! Here comes Connor McDavid.
Well, the goals he scored the last couple games against Toronto and Pittsburgh, just like end-to-end rushes,
Unreal.
eating through everybody like they're standing still. They
The one
basically
in
are
Toronto
standing.
was crazy. The one that like he made those guys look pedestrian.
Yeah.
And it was a
I don't know
situation.
what more.
Go ahead,
I
Lux.
don't know.
Sorry.
Sorry, I don't know what Morgan Riley was doing on that goal. He like just got out of the way. He was just rolled out the red carpet for McDavid and said, "Here, go score. Just get it over with." But yeah, I mean, prior to Morgan Riley just ducking out of the way there, he made some nice moves to get through. But yeah, I think Riley helped him out on that goal a little bit.
Probably didn't want to
Morgan
break his ankles again.
Yeah, exactly.
Riley is not the only issue with the Toronto roster, though. Oh my
Oh
goodness.
boy.
There was
There's a whole
some
other show.
world-class mail-ins happening there. By the end of that game, and their leadership took quite a bit of heat. I don't think it's explicitly just Marner taking off. I think there's some fairly deep cultural issues in that organization that are really starting to fester a little bit, and I don't know how they're going to right that ship in their current window.
Well, they could change their captain for one. Austin Matthews is a very good hockey player, but he is not a captain.
Yep.
But we could spend
I'm
a couple
not
hours.
disagree. No, we could.
Turn this into a Leaf podcast.
No, there's enough people talking about the Leaves all the time, man.
Oh, geez. Well, guys, what else do we want to cover here? We got Leon Draisaitl hitting 1,000. Connor McDavid's been on fire here. Got a couple tough games coming up. Boston on Thursday. Are the Oilers going to finally get to the point where they can win 3 games in a row here? What are your thoughts here, Bob?
Wow, I mean, that's getting kind of ridiculous now that we're 35, 36 games of the season now, and we still can't hit the 3rd game or the 3rd win in a row. So yeah, that's definitely something we got to cross off the checklist. And so yeah, I'm just gonna say we are gonna do it. From little of what I've seen Boston play, like Swayman seems to have found his game. He's red hot right now and putting up some good numbers. And even on a game-to-game basis, there's been nights where he's definitely been the first star. So I know initially there was some flack about his contract right after he wins the Vezina, and like, we're paying him too much because of one Vezina season. Well, it looks like he's starting to regain that form, so it might be a good investment. But we also have, like we just stated, just the red hot McDavid again. Like supernova McDavid has hit the ice. Like we could make a whole show just talking about that the goal against Toronto and Pittsburgh. Not to understate Bouchard's little touch pass to McDavid to catch him in full stride, and he just rocket shits past everybody. The Pittsburgh goal, what was really impressive is the fact that how he got knocked off stride and his edge work to regain his balance and then still pick up speed to go around Stuart Skinner. Like, this is just stuff that you only see on AI videos.
Yeah. We got to stop and talk about these Bouchard touch passes because people think they're easy, but hitting
No.
hitting Connor McDavid at 39 kilometers an hour mid stride, exactly where he needs the puck. I think there's one other player in the league that could do that as reliably as Bouchard does it. And even then, I don't know if they would be able to do. Like, Bouchard's vision of up ice movement is otherworldly. And he handles the puck so much that he gives the puck up
Yeah.
more than his fair share of times. But the number of completed passes that he makes that are just absolutely otherworldly, that's the kind of thing that, you can't teach that. That's a vision and pure talent thing, right? And you know, it would sure be nice if I'm just gonna pull a JFresh tweet here from the side, where somebody was comparing Jacob Chikrin to Evan Bouchard and saying Chikrin's better. Uh, and JFresh, sort of waddled in and said, well, one guy has a 940 on ice save percentage and the other one has an 878. So that might contribute to it. And that's really it. Like, Evan Bouchard and Ekholm, they make mistakes, but man, do they not get the goaltending behind them to back them up when things go sideways. And it's really that simple.
They want to compare Chikrin and Bouchard. Bouchard kills penalties too. Chikrin doesn't kill penalties in Washington, right?
Bouchard is way underrated on the defensive side of the puck. How many times does he go into a corner second and come out with the puck anyways? Like, yeah, you wish that there was a little more fight in his game sometimes, but his whole shtick is that he's cool like a cucumber.
Yeah.
To the point of not recognizing danger. But that same coolness allows him to score goals with 30 seconds left to save the series, right? Like, it's kind of a big deal.
Putting him on the penalty kill was such a smart move because I think it made him simplify his game. There's certain pressure that comes with playing on the ice when McDavid and Draisaitl are out there. You feel like you have to make a play every time. You don't want to waste a shift with those guys out there and end up having to dump the puck out just to clear the zone or what have you. You're forcing plays that might not be there because you don't want to waste that time. But putting Bouchard on the penalty kill where you have to simplify things, and you're absolutely right, Kevin. I've seen his defensive game, gotten way better this season alone just because of being simpler about it in his own zone. I mean, he'll still make those high risk passes, especially 5-on-5. But he makes so many of them. Statistically, he's going to give some bad ones away. But you don't want to eliminate.
Cale Makar gives bad ones away.
Yeah.
It does happen. It doesn't get talked about because Bouchard is cross-eyed or whatever. But like, besides the dumb narratives that are out there, which that is one of them, all of these elite defensemen cough up the puck in brutal ways. They touch the puck so much it's inevitable. And Bouchard's are highlight reel levels of brain gaps, we'll say that, but he makes up for it and then some.
I saw Paul Coffey do that. I saw Paul Coffey do it lots. And actually, one of the knocks against Coffey was when he'd cough up the puck sometimes, he'd be lazy getting back because he was so pissed off that he coughed it up. But when we think of Coffey, we think of him like he's a Hall of Fame defenseman. He's an elite defenseman. So guys that have the puck all the time, I'm sure Bobby Orr had a share giveaway to get the puck the whole time. Like, guys that have the puck lots will give it away from time to time. It's just law of averages.
People are quick to point out the overtime goal the other night, right? But the overtime goal the other night happens because there's two guys attacking Bouchard. He mishandles the puck slightly, which happens, and he wasn't supported by Connor. And then Connor also abandoned his coverage to cheat for offense. So, like, it's easy to wave the stick at the defenseman or the goaltender or the whatever, but you're playing 3-on-3 OT. Every one of the four guys that's on the ice matters. And that's, you could say that's the case anytime, but it's extra deadly in OT if somebody misses their assignment or misses their placement or what have you.
Yeah, and it's all by your position to play, how much your mistakes get amplified, right? And we kind of bypass mistakes that are made by McDavid and Draisaitl more. Bouchard's more noticeable because it's a defensive mistake that usually leads into an offensive rush. And then obviously we're hardest on goalies because they have absolutely nobody to cover up when they make a mistake. It goes into the back of the net. So I think you get more leeway depending on the position as well. So that's something we got to keep in mind with Bouchard too, I think.
But spoiler alert, though, that is one thing you like about being a goalie. You kind of like that pressure. I mean, yeah, you'll get shit on when you let in a bad one, especially at a bad time. But you want to be in that position where you can make that difference. And so, as much as it sucks when it happens, just realize he wanted that opportunity. Like, it's one of the things that draws you to it.
Yeah, no.
More evidence that goaltenders are crazy.
There's lots of evidence that goaltenders are crazy.
Well, we had to have one on the show for entertainment value right here.
Feed me.
Speaking of high-end defensemen, I don't think we can do a hockey show without mentioning the Quinn Hughes deal.
Oh,
I
yes.
I mean, what a crazy deal. I was sitting there on a Friday night, just minding my own business, and then boom, Quinn Hughes to Minnesota. What a deal. 4 first-round assets, Marco Rossi, Z Boyum, Liam Ogren, and a 2026 first. I think there's a great deal by both sides.
And no guarantees you're going to be able to, like, that's not a sign and trade. It's here's a boatload of assets for a maybe.
Yeah, you get 2 playoff runs with them, hopefully.
That's a ballsy move by Bill Guerin, but I think it's probably the right swing, and it could really change the outcome of his team's immediate future. It's already a dangerous team.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be interesting to see how it shakes out with all those guys that they included gone.
I thought what do you think? It's so weird that we finally make a big trade for our goalie, and then Minnesota's like, "Watch this!" Like,
yeah, no, to get our 5 seconds of cheering for a new goalie, and all of a sudden, no. Only thing the Oilers could have won up with is if they traded Connor himself, and that's never going to happen.
No,
at least not willingly.
Well, Quinn Hughes was saying all the right things about maybe possibly staying there. He's definitely open to the possibility. So probably depend on how, obviously the biggest factor will be how Minnesota does in the period until it's eligible to sign an extension. But to stay in pace in that division, Minnesota is definitely going to need someone like Quinn Hughes. So yeah, real ballsy move, like you said there, Kev.
Well, in my mind, he's a top 3 puck moving defenseman. You have like Makar, Hughes, and Bouchard. I think probably the top 3 puck moving defenseman out there. So like, yeah, he's not just a guy who's just filling a spot in the roster. Like he's bringing offense from a back end in Minnesota that doesn't really get a lot of offense. And yeah, they just got exponentially more dangerous with him in the lineup.
And they see Colorado having won a cup and what they're doing this year, and they see Dallas have been to the 2 straight Western Conference Finals. And they got Kirill Kaprizov, who's going to be the highest paid player in the league starting next year. So, I mean, I applaud it. And I'm usually very future focused, but Minnesota, they've spent a lot of time creating this young core. They had a lot of assets that they could give up, and they pulled the trigger. Like Marco Rossi, I don't think was particularly happy there. A bit of a contract dispute with the team last summer, and they went short term with him for that reason. And they found a way to move him on. William, I don't think they were happy about giving up, but you're getting Quinn Hughes, so you got to give right. You got to give to get. And Ogren was kind of just starting to get into the league a little bit here. Haven't seen much of him yet. And then you don't know what this first round pick is going to be. But like, you don't want to say they're all expendable assets, but Minnesota's still got a real good team and will be for a while with this core. But yeah, then you look at what Vancouver's doing. It sounded like Quinn wanted out. He said that he wasn't going to re-sign in Vancouver after next season, given the way this season has started. Gosh. Yeah, dead last in the league when they made the trade. And lots of personality conflicts in that dressing room. And he finally just said, you know what, this ain't for me. And good on Jim Rutherford for making it happen. Just getting on it, and he got a great return. So yeah, I applaud both sides for this one. It was a great trade on both ends.
I don't know if it's exactly like for this trade in particular, a good move, but I don't think good on Jim Rutherford for letting it get to the point where your best player wants to leave town, though. I think he's got to be fixing the situation before that. Like the trade is I don't know if you can call it a recovery, but a nice small rebound to the situation for sure. But the Vancouver Canucks had to fix that situation. It's like the Oilers allowing things to deteriorate to the point where Connor wants out. And if we trade Connor and get a decent return, it's not a win at the end of the day. We lost the best player, and at the end of the day, Vancouver loses the best player. Maybe they get some pieces here that ultimately help them turn things around, but right now it's I think it's a bad situation there for Vancouver.
Well, in a matter of a couple of seasons, they lost their best player and defenseman and one of the top forwards. Just a couple of seasons. Like so, there, yeah, there's definitely a change in the environment over there.
Yeah,
he's not going to be relevant for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that helps us anyway. The less teams that are relevant in the Pacific, because we got Anaheim coming up, we got San Jose coming up. So if Vancouver takes a step back for a bit, that's definitely going to help our cause anyway.
I wonder if the Oilers are not done yet, though. Either, right? Like, just it doesn't seem like they're in a spot that they would just clap their hands together and say, well, that's it for the season for moves. Like it seems like a very sort of like half done state right now. And I think specifically what we're seeing with Tomaszek, I'm not sure that, in the same way that Vancouver likes to move on rapidly from things that experiments that haven't worked out. I don't see Tomaszek finishing the season here, but I could be wrong about that. We'll see how things play out in the next little bit.
Well,
I think he's the one that. Yeah, sorry Patrick.
Finish your thought there, Lotzi.
I think Tomaszek's the one that's going to have to go to be able to get this team healthy and out of LTIR again, right? Like, how to go down. Kapanen went on LTIR, and then some guys started getting hurt. Now we got Wallman on LTIR. We got Philp on LTIR. Yeah, Klattenberg hurt. Roslovic's hurt. Like, there's lots of guys that are hurt and coming back soon. But to get a full roster reset and to get back to full health here, the Oilers are going to have to shave at least 1.06666, I believe was the number I came up with after the first round of this went down. And Tomaszek is the only guy that kind of covers that off. And they don't have to do anything to get rid of him. They can just send him down and bury all but $50K of his contract. So, yeah, whether it's in Bakersfield or a trade elsewhere, I think they'd be smart to move him on, get an asset for him, and give the guy an opportunity to get some feet under him in the NHL somewhere else, because it ain't happening here.
Yeah, I think he has the tools too. Like, you've seen some of his goals and some of his hands. Like, it's there. Yeah. He's not going to find that part of his game playing bottom six, and that's
every other game.
Yeah, exactly, in every other game. But to be fair, like, who's he going to knock off in our top six? So, like, he just doesn't really have. He just doesn't really have the opportunity here. And I wish for him.
I think
if he goes to Bakersfield, if he goes to Baco, he's a top six guy there. Probably goes to somewhere else, he gets probably get a better shot at it. But
yeah, I think at this point it's fair. If he to send him to another team if that's what he wants. He took a swing here, and it's just unless you're in the top six, like, he needs to be with guys that are sort of established pros. He has all the tools. We've seen it. He's good where he, in terms of where he needs to be. He's had some shitty puck luck, but for the most part, I think there's a hockey player there. I'm just not sure. I think there's a hockey player there for the Edmonton Oilers.
And I don't know if you saw Speck's piece about it today, but I think he talked to him during the game last night. And yeah, like, he was saying that Bowman kind of, if he feels bad about the situation, but he didn't know he was going to sign Roslovic at the start of the season.
Oh, that's very true.
That was kind of the hole. That was kind of the hole that Tomaszek was brought in to potentially fill. Hyman was out, and we needed somebody on the right side, so he got his opportunity there, and it didn't happen right away. didn't really work out for him. Then Roslovic came in and did what he did. And now Savoy's evolved and he's moved up the depth chart on the right hand side. So and Hyman's back now. So there's just really no room for him here anymore. What opportunity existed is now gone. So I think he's going to have to be a cap casualty at some point here, but they need the body in the lineup, or at least with the team, until we get back to full health here.
No matter what kind of lineup you have, though, you don't pass up on a Roslovic for that kind of contract. Like, you make
No, 100%.
Yeah, no, you make it work. Yeah, the thing I was going to bring up before, I put out it on X a few days ago, a possible David Tomashik, Lucas Reichel trade with the Vancouver Canucks. Both Reichel and Tomashik have the same cap hit, $1.2 million. Reichel just went through waivers, so he could be sent down. We know the Oilers had interest in Lucas Reichel before. I don't know how much, but it was reported by a few different insiders that the Oilers were looking at him. He's got the German connection with Leon Draisaitl. So just kind of curious what you guys would think of that as a possible one-for-one swap, just to try something. Start with you, Lotzie.
And on the surface of it, it doesn't seem like a poor idea, but Reichel hasn't stuck with two organizations now. And again, where's he going to play? Right? Like, we don't have room for him when the roster's fully healthy. We're just be in the same situation we're in with Tomashik now, only we have a guy that's got to go through waivers first. Like, we at least have control over Tomashik right now. We can send him to Baco and we can work out a trade for him if that's what needs to happen.
What do you think, Kev?
I sort of agree on the two teams thing. I will throw an asterisk on that just because Vancouver has a history of washing their hands of things very quickly. Look at the situation with Vincent Desharnais. They signed him to a $2 million contract, and he was out within a couple of months. And that's a strange choice, right? Like, I understand that they were trying to hunt playoffs, but abandoning a guy that you just signed, that seems like that's an interesting set of decisions. So it's unless there's some kind of player interaction issue here or some other thing, I would say that trusting Vancouver's flippant disposal of a player is maybe not the most prudent thing to do.
What do you think, Bob?
I think right now, between the two players, Reichel is might be the better one. He's also younger than Tomashik by a couple of years. But like Lotzie said, I think we end up they just swap skates more enough. Like, he's going to do the same thing Tomashik's doing now. He's going to play every second game. He's going to play bottom 6 minutes. And again, his style, that's not his style. So we're not gaining anything there except for, well, we're losing a little bit because he'd have to clear waivers. And all we're gaining is a couple of years on a guy that we use sparingly.
Well, he's already cleared waivers because he was just on waivers the other day. So I think he's good for 30 days or whatever it is. But eventually, like, if he stuck with us long enough, he would be eligible to go on waivers again. But yeah, the biggest point, I think, Lotzie, like, it's finding for him in the lineup to play. And then, I don't know, it was just kind of, I think, a fresh start for both guys, like the Jarry Skinner deal to a much smaller extent. But I don't know, just something I thought I'd throw out there as a possible one-for-one. We saw the Oilers and Canucks do that a couple times now. So kind of curious if anything came about from that, but it's been pretty quiet on that front. So it's not looking like it's kind of unlikely to happen at this point. We are closing in here on the 90-minute mark, and I know, Lotzie, you in particular have been doing a lot of work on the upcoming Heavy Hockey Showdown, and we got some news to announce on that. So I'm going to throw the floor over to you, and you can kind of give everyone the big update on what's happening with the Heavy Hockey Showdown coming up in March.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess the big news is that registration for the event is now open. And having said that, the event is pretty close to full already. We've got around 10 spots left, if I'm remembering correctly. So the spots are filling up quick, and that's just a sign that the event has become super popular, and it's a tremendous event. Oilers Live and the rest of the Heavy Hockey Showdown committee has done an incredible job over the years of making this event what it is. And it's onwards and upwards from here. So we're looking forward to another big event. Details on how you can register and be a part of it are at heavyhockey.com/heavyhockeyshowdown. You can also check out at heavyhockeynet on X. We sent out a post from there earlier today with the registration link, and also a guide or a link to the fundraising guide that we came out with this time around. So whether you're playing in the event or you're somebody that just wants to step up and help support our fundraising efforts for SACE, we welcome you and we invite you to do so. We've got all the information on how you can set up a fundraising page is in the fundraising guide, which is the link for that's in the X post on Heavy Hockey Net. So check that out. And if you got any questions, you can fire a DM my way or to Oilers Live, or probably even Dash in the Park would be willing to field some questions, I'm sure. Patrick, you're on the committee as well, so fill up Patrick's DMs. But no, we're super excited to get registration open for the event, and that it seems to be going quite well so far.
I haven't registered yet. It's going too well. I haven't registered yet, so I got to do that here right away.
Yeah, get on it, Bob. Time's running out. But we're still a ways away from the event. It's on March 14th, downtown Community Arena. The event is going to go from 1 till 4 p.m. that day. That's what the ice time is booked for. So if you're able to get a spot and play, we'd love to have you. And if you're able to come on out and watch us old bastards skate around and make fools of ourselves in support of a great cause, then we'd love to have you out for that as well. So yeah, check it out, heavyhockey.com/heavyhockeyshowdown.
Yeah, it was my first time at the event last year. I had a lot of fun. I was just doing I wasn't on the ice because keep the game competitive, but doing some video stuff behind the scenes. Had a lot of fun with you, Bob, in the penalty box there, filming some comedy videos there. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, guys. Heavy Hockey, the guys here taking on the guys from Edmonton Sports Talk. So Dustin Nielsen, Tom Gazzola, all those guys, Matt Awanek, they're all going to be down there. So it's going to be a fantastic event. I think you're joining this year as well, Kevin, right?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah. So we got the big celebrity appearance here. So you're definitely going to want to come down. Even if you just got to be in the crowd, it's a fantastic, fun game to watch. So yeah, please come on down. It's all for a great cause for SACE, Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton, and one of the best events that you can find in Edmonton, and really proud to be a part of it and looking forward to my second time at the event coming up here. So, well, with that out of the way, any other topics you guys want to cover here before we do the wrap up for the night?
You want to hit on Quinn Hudson for a minute here?
Oh, yes. We didn't talk about Quinn Hudson. Yes. Well, Bob, you were mentioning just over 6 minutes of ice time for Mr. Hudson last night. I think that was probably the biggest thing going against him was all the power play and penalty kill, as he's not on either special team. But we'll start with you, Bob. I guess I already got you in the spotlight there. Your thoughts on the 6 minutes we saw of Quinn Hudson last night?
Well, I get it because it is, the special teams came into play quite a bit that game. But I think the frustrating part is that we keep seeing this. Like, we keep seeing this from the guys that we bring up, and they sit on the bench and just their toes freeze kind of thing. But like Quinn, I hope this next game there that he gets he's got to get to double-digit ice time. Let's see what he can do at the NHL level now. I mean, last year, that's a tough way to start your NHL career. Kind of thrown into the fire in a tricky situation. So this year he's much more established on a pro level. What he's doing in Baco. Let's see what I can do against some NHL competition with more than 6 minutes of ice time. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
Kevin, your thoughts?
I don't honestly have a lot. I want to see him play more. To be completely honest with you, I haven't watched a lot of his time in Baco, but I do know that he's been tearing it up. I think they've found a player there that's very likely to have an NHL upside. So we'll just keep watching with bated breath and interest and see how things turn out over the next little bit. I think there's a player there.
Lotsy?
Yeah, I see what they're trying to do with the call up here. They're trying to reward a kid who's playing unbelievably well in the AHL so far. I don't know have the points in front of me, but he's fourth in the league in scoring as a rookie. Like he's playing real well. And it's like I get that, but this is a player that I want to see continue to do this for a long stretch of time because I mean, the only reason he's getting this chance right now, for aside from him having earned it in the A, is because there's a lot of injuries up here right now. But we've got Max Jones up here for that reason, just an extra body on the road trip. We got Tomashek, who's kind of in and out of the press box. And then you got Quinn Hudson, who we got 6 minutes of ice time last night. Like, I get where people are coming from. This is the type of player where if you're going to have him play at all, it might as well be with some decent players in the top nine. And playing him for 6 minutes doesn't really do him much for his development. But I don't see this as anything more than just a reward and a pat on the back that says, "Good job, kid. Keep it up." He'll be back down by the end of the road trip, I'm sure. And he'll continue doing what he's doing in Bakersfield, which is fantastic. That's great. And I hope he does develop into a useful player for us, whether it's bottom six, maybe top six if we're lucky, right? But I think there might be a player in Quinn, good two-way game, who clearly knows how to score. Just now's not his time, and that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I had was when I saw the lineup for last night's game and I saw him on the fourth line to start. I thought he should have at least been on the third line to start. I didn't expect him to be in the top six or anything like that. But I think with the season he's had with Bakersfield, he at least earned that opportunity. The guys that were sitting there on the third line, I didn't think had been playing exceptionally well as of late. So I think Quinn Hudson could have started more. But at the same time, we know head coach Chris Knobloch likes to bring these guys in slowly and methodically in his way. So it's nice that Quinn Hudson is getting this opportunity, and with getting guys back here in short order, hopefully here, we know a couple guys are supposed to be back before Christmas if everything stays on the timeline. But we know that changes a lot with the Edmonton Oilers. So Quinn Hudson probably isn't here for a very long time, and it's probably better for him to get back to Bakersfield playing those top line minutes with Ike Howard and Josh Szymanski. But for now, just I hope he can get something probably closer to maybe 8 or 9 minutes next game if the opportunity allows, and just to give him a couple shifts maybe with McDavid, Draisaitl, just, see what the kid can do here. So we'll see what happens on that front. But as we close in here on the final 3 minutes, I thought everyone could get in their final thoughts. Bob will give you the final thoughts of the night here. So I'll wrap up here, and then we'll go to Lotzi, Kevin, then finish up with you, Bob. Just want to say thank you to everybody in the chat for joining us tonight. As always, we had a great turnout. Appreciate all your input on the show here. Thank you to everyone. Kev, Lotzi, Bob, you were all fantastic tonight. Had a pleasure hosting you guys tonight. And yeah, hopefully the Oilers going forward here can get win number 3. They got 1 now. Going here, get a couple more, and strong finish here to 2025. You can find me over at the Oilers Fanatic. I have my own YouTube channel there doing news and game reviews. So if you want more Oilers content, you can find it there. But as always, here with these guys for the Heavy Hockey Podcast every Wednesday. Might have a different day in the next couple weeks here with Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve coming up. And I know we want to talk some Olympic hockey rosters for Team Canada and maybe some of the other countries here coming up as well. So you guys can look forward to that. That's all from me, guys. I'll pass it off to Lotzi.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and just give a quick shout out to some of our writers at heavyhockey.com. Bob's got his 30-game power rankings piece that just came out a couple days ago and just got posted today on social media anyway. And Eric Friesen put out a post in anticipation of the Jarry versus Skinner matchup that happened last night. And you can catch my piece on Draisaitl's 1,000th point that I just posted a little earlier tonight. And you can catch all that on heavyhockey.com. And once again, just be sure to check out heavyhockey.com/heavyhockeyshowdown for information on the event and how to sign up. And yeah, thank you to Oilers Live for being the guy that runs the event and has the vision to drive it forward, and it's turned into such a great thing, and I'm definitely proud to be a part of it as well. And with that, I guess I'll move on to Kevin.
I just want to thank all you gents for joining today. It's been a pretty good turnout in the chat, and definitely some engaging conversation about where the team's at. As usual. Don't have a lot of other parting thoughts. Looking forward to doing the Heavy Hockey Showdown in March, and we'll see how everything goes. Off to Bob.
Always a pleasure sharing screen time with you guys. I look forward to the opportunity I get to fill that fourth seat when it's available. So thanks for having me on. Yeah, please leave one spot for me, Heavy Hockey Showdown. I need to register. That's on me though. Every time I remember, I'm not available for it. So gotta get that going. Let's enjoy this ride. It looks like the Oilers are turning things around. We will get a win streak happening here shortly. I'm confident of it. Let's enjoy watching Supernova McDavid take flight here. Let's see what our new guys bring to the table, especially in between the pipes. Excited to see that all develop. Thank you so much. Oh, it's also Oilers Live, Michael Bear's birthday. Is it tomorrow? Yeah.
Tomorrow,
So there you go. So give him a shout out on X or other social media. Wish him happy birthday. He is basically the godfather of heavy hockey here. So much respect to him and much love to him. So make sure to give him a shout out. And other than that, you guys have a great week, and we'll see you on the other side.